What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Our first question this week comes from Ari Koenig, who asks if Han knew Rey was a Palpatine in The Force Awakens.
So I hadn't really considered this, but I think that becomes a question of like, okay, when did Luke and Leia know that Rey was a Palpatine? Because Luke drops that bombshell on Octo.
Yeah. I don't think anyone knew that Rey was a Palpatine. Not even JJ.
Well, yes.
For that movie.
Well, correct. I agree with you there. But now that we know that Luke and Leia know, I figured we could explore when they found out and then, like, did Han know something? Because there are, like, these knowing looks that he gives to the camera when she's like, I've never seen so much green. And, like, to me, that always, he looks at her like, oh, that's sad. Mm-hmm. But people have suggested that maybe he knew something about who she was.
I can't imagine he knew.
I don't think so either. I don't know how he would. I mean, unless he knew somehow that the granddaughter of Palpatine was hiding out on Jakku. And, like, if he knew that, then shouldn't the Emperor? Yeah.
I mean, the looks that you mentioned that he gives when she says that stuff, I think that's just Han. Like, he's been on all these adventures and seen so much stuff. He feels bad for her that she's been sheltered her whole life and stuck on a desert planet.
Yeah, that's what I think was behind all those looks. It could have been JJ, like, dropping breadcrumbs to pay off later, like, if they so chose, but I just don't know. I don't think he knew, but I do want to discuss, when did Luke and Leia find out?
And, like, did they use the Force to realize it?
I'm kind of thinking that Luke found out when he became one with the Force. I assume you have some cosmic knowledge dropped into your head at that point in time. So he probably found out, told Leia, and then...
Is it like that gif where it's like...
It must be. That's what happens to every Jedi as they become one with the Force. But, like, the story, I forget what it's called. It's in From a Certain Point of View, the first one, and it's about Obi-Wan becoming one with the Force, and he basically sees...
Qui-Gon?
It's Obi-Wan at this point. He sees, like, past, present, and future, like, all at once. Mm-hmm. So I think Luke probably went through something similar and then told Leia, and he's like, just so you know, she's a Palpatine. And Leia's like, well, we know her heart. We know who she really is, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Noel Lopez wants to know if Star Wars could have a What If series like Marvel Studios is doing on Disney+.
I would be all for it. I think that would be something fun to explore. I think it's unlikely, though.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before, I think, but the idea of non-canon Star Wars stuff popping up, it could happen, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
I think, yeah, that might be more what I am leaning towards. It could happen, but, like, it took Marvel 10 years to get to this decision.
Right. And, yeah, I think there's lots more Star Wars that is planned out ahead of time to come.
I hope. But I'm also like, while I do think it would be interesting, I don't want to continue to just explore the Skywalker saga and explore the same eras over and over. And that's what we would be doing. It would be an interesting exploration, but it's like, okay, we're still in the original trilogy timeline. Like, I'm ready for something new. But there is precedent. Like, they did comics that were kind of what if series back in the day. So that to me is something to get into much later, when we've had a break from the Skywalker saga, and then maybe in a few years they can say, hey, let's have some fun with this and play around.
Yeah, and, like, I don't think the creators of Star Wars content, I wouldn't see them wanting to do a what if scenario. And again, maybe not right now, maybe in the future. But it just makes me think of other Star Wars YouTubers. Like, there's your what ifs.
Yeah, that's true. There's plenty of great what if videos out there.
Yeah. And, yeah.
No, it's a great point.
Matt asks, what's a ship from Legends that we want to see come into canon, and what's one that we hope never returns? Also, it's their birthday, so happy birthday.
This is one more for me, I think, because I'm a ship lover, and B, know a lot more about Legends, and especially Legends ships. So you rack your brain.
I have one in mind.
Okay, why don't you go ahead?
The Uglies? Is that only a Legends thing?
They are a lot more prevalent in Legends, but they have popped up in canon.
All right. Well,
but not in a huge way. And like we can piggyback off of the question we answered not too long ago about Uglies being in Star Wars Squadrons 2, maybe.
Yeah.
Because that's a really fun idea to just kind of like cobble together your own ship.
Are there any other letter wings in Legends?
K-Wing, E-Wing.
K-Wing. Boom.
Okay, K-Wing. Big old giant bomber.
Yes.
Okay, that's what you want back. I was going to go TIE Phantom. I have a really soft place in my heart for Rebel Assault 2. That was like one of the first games I ever saved up for and bought myself. And it's not great, but I still love it. And it did introduce the TIE Phantom, which I think is wonderful. It's kind of like lore breaky because it has a cloaking device, but it was experimental. It never really got off the ground. But it's a really fun design. One that I never want to see come back is the Slave 2.
There was a Slave 2?
And a 3.
Oh, no.
The Slave 1, I like the Slave 1. Just keep the Slave 1. The Slave 2 was such a boring design. It didn't last long anyway, but...
I'm not a fan of the Slave 1, but...
I mean, you're on board with, like, it's just a giant circle. It's so easy to shoot. I get that it's not that practical, but I still love it.
I like the seismic charges, and that's about it.
It would be a crime if you didn't love those.
Jockerthan 101 wants to know if there are any old Legends lightsaber styles that we want to see come back into canon.
You already said that you had one, so I'll let you go first so I don't, like, steal it.
Mara Jade.
Well, that's
Give me another purple lightsaber.
I mean, that's just another single-bladed hilt. I think they mean, like, different kinds of lightsabers.
Mara Jade is my answer.
Okay. I don't know. I kind of like that it's a little more simple now, and they're not getting too far out there, because there were some wild Legends designs.
Were they helicopters?
That's true. Touche. But none of them flew, as far as I can recall. And the new book coming out, the Dark Legends, like Myths and Fables style book, apparently there's one that has like that curved blade.
It's like a whip.
Well, the light whips were a thing in Legends.
It just looks like a floppy lightsaber.
Right. Well, I think it is like a solid curved blade,
okay.
But I would guess that is part of the Myths side of things. Because even in like fantasy Star Wars land, I'm like, how do you get plasma to like just make and hold that shape? I can accept a straight line, but the curved part I think is probably just like I heard tale of this crazy lightsaber, and everyone's gonna be like, nah. But light whips were kind of fun. People always point out that the Slavers in the Clone Wars, the Zygerians, they use something that's similar, but they're not the same. They're energy whips. Not the same.
Okay.
I was going to just jump back to, like, way before, like, the Jedi Order, before the Jedi were formed.
The battery-powered ones?
Even before that.
Aw.
They were just Force-imbued swords. So, like,
okay, yeah.
I kind of like that idea.
Yeah.
That seems like a step right before a lightsaber, before you figured out the technology, but you were still strengthening like actual blades. I think that's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, like what the sword is that you end up finding in Secrets of the Empire.
Yeah. It is a lot like that.
It's just like a glowing 2-prong blue sword.
That's true. I was talking about how simple the canon lightsabers are, and it's like, nope, that's not really true. There are a handful of really out there designs already.
And we still don't know anything about the Darksaber, but hopefully Mando Season 2.
But yeah, I would bring back Force-imbued swords.
Brandon Velasquez asks if Obi-Wan would have left Luke on Tatooine to help Leia if she had never been captured in A New Hope.
So, talking about what ifs.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I mean, that's the whole reason why he stayed there for so long, right? Was to watch after Luke.
Yeah. So, I think that if Leia had reached him, he would have run over and maybe kidnapped Luke or like convinced him to leave. I think he would have known this is the point in time. We are needed. Let's go.
I just imagine him running up to Uncle Owen and be like, hey, yeah, it's me, the crazy old wizard, and I need your son.
Yeah.
Or I need Luke.
I mean,
Goodbye.
he might as well be Owen's son.
Yeah.
The comics make it pretty clear. Like, he treats Luke as his son. If you've never read the Star Wars comics, they make Owen a lot more sympathetic, and I appreciate that. But yeah, like, when Obi-Wan was trying to convince Luke to go, he didn't know that Owen and Beru were dead. He was like, it's time. You should come with me. Let's do this thing. I don't think... Yeah, that's what he would have said.
Let's do this thing.
Let's do this thing. I don't think it mattered that Leia was there or not. If she had shown up, he'd be like, yes, I will go with you, but we need to make a quick pit stop by this moisture farm. That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where we left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to extra Star Wars Explained content like audio commentaries for the films, and we're also doing commentaries for all the Clone Wars episodes, and this week is Padawan Lost. We're nearing the end of Season 3, and that's available right now if you're interested.
On to YouTube questions. Netherspark asks what the word Darth actually means.
Sometimes we get a question that has a lot of upvotes. Clearly people want to know, but it's like, it's not really a discussion question. It just basically means Dark Lord.
It's like the bad guy, sir.
Yeah, it's just a title.
The knight of a bad guy in Star Wars.
Yeah, I think so.
Like if you're knighted, you're called like Sir
so-and-so.
Ian McKellen. It's like Darth so-and-so.
Uh-huh. I do always still wonder, though, if, like, does Sidious make those up on the spot? Did he just pull Vader out of nowhere, or did he have that written down? Like, does he have a notebook of just names, like...
I imagine it as the names of hurricanes.
Yeah.
Like, those are all already planned, right? And they just go by the letter.
Huh. Okay. I mean, we may have stumbled on something here.
Oh, boy.
Because we had Maul, and then we had Tyrannus,
and
then we had Vader. Like, it's all alphabetical.
Yeah.
So maybe in that 10-year gap between Maul and Tyrannus, Sidious is just churning through apprentices. And then we get to Tyrannus, and then maybe there was like a really short-lived a Darth U word.
Darth.
Ursula.
Yep.
And then, boom, Darth Vader. I think, yeah.
I like it. Lachlan Tang wants to know if Palpatine orchestrated his own capture in Revenge of the Sith to ruin Maul's plan to kill Anakin on Mandalore. Woo! Oh boy. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think yes. I mean, that's definitely a retcon, but I love the idea that Sidious hears this thing that Maul is trying to do, and he just, again, ruins it. And he's like, oh, you're trying to get Anakin's attention? He loves me more. I'm going to get myself captured, and he's going to come running to save me. Nice try, Maul.
Like, he's writing in his diary, and he's like, I had the best idea today.
Yeah.
He's got a list of ways to screw Maul over in just different ways.
That wouldn't surprise me in the least. Like, just a whole 50 ways to mess with Maul.
The Bleaker asks if any Sith tried to overthrow the Republic in between Darth Bane and Darth Sidious.
It's an interesting question, and I want to say no. That's my guess. So we have 1,000-year period between when Darth Bane set up the Rule of Two and then when Darth Sidious finally is the culmination of it. But it's something that, like, I'm hopeful that we do see some of the Sith and what they're up to in the High Republic.
I think maybe there were some, and they were just really unsuccessful. So no.
Well, do you think they were like actively okay, the two of us are going to overthrow the Republic. Like, we're the ones. Or were they still planning and plotting for future generations to take over?
Yeah, I think a lot of planning and plotting was probably happening.
That's what's interesting to me, is that we talked recently about, like, getting stuck in the cycle of, like, well, the Sith are just always going to be the bad guys, I guess. But in the High Republic, we would see the Sith in a totally different way, where they're not in power, they're still hiding. That, at least to me, is a different take on them. And yeah, I would like to see what they were thinking, if they were okay with setting up, planting seeds for eventually the Sith to rule the galaxy, but like, oh, it's not going to be us, and that kind of stinks.
Yeah, it makes me think of the Sith fleet from Episode 9. Like, that took a generation to train all those people.
And build all those ships, I guess.
Yeah, we guess.
But yeah, it would be interesting to just take a look at the mindset of the Sith at that point, and maybe they would mention some history of, like, maybe shortly after Darth Bane, like, they did jump the gun and try to mess things up and it didn't work out. We don't know right now, but I'm excited to learn more.
Awake Knight wants to know if we think Lucasfilm is sitting on any Legends stories because they want to make them big canon flagship titles down the road.
So in the question, they put forth the idea that, like, Knights of the Old Republic, which I do think would be a huge flagship title. And I kind of do think they're sitting on KOTOR right now, or not specifically KOTOR, but the Old Republic era. I think they know how much fans want that. Like, before the Kenobi show was announced, I feel like it was, let's get a Kenobi movie or story or something with Ewan McGregor in it, and we want to see the Old Republic come back. Like, those feel like the two top requests that I see over and over.
Yeah. And it makes sense. Like, they pull things here and there from Legends all the time. And yeah, I would hate to think that they wouldn't want to bring a story like KOTOR back at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even talking a straight adaptation, but just the era. And I hope, like, my thinking behind, like, whenever we are waiting to hear stuff like this, I assume it's just they're planning. They're trying to figure out what that's going to look like. I'm sure that the stories we're going to see in, like, 5 or 10 years are already being talked about now. So I'm hopeful that they're just taking their time. They're not rushing anything. They want it to be cool and live up to the hype. And it'll be interesting because the High Republic sounds like it's already changing what the galaxy looked like only 200 years ago. Mm-hmm. So jumping back to pre-1000 years ago, it's going to be different.
Yeah, I mean, if you read through any of the Art of books, you see just how early on a lot of these ideas for these stories are happening. Like, Solo comes to mind. I know Kasdan wanted to make that movie.
I think he was working
years
on
ago.
Like, he and George were going to make that.
Yeah.
And then the Disney acquisition happened, and then Kasdan was pulled off of writing Solo to work on The Force Awakens. Solo was supposed to be the first standalone movie, and then because Kasdan couldn't work on it, it got pushed to second, and Rogue One took its place. And so, yeah, like, the timeline of Solo is very interesting from when they started working on it to when it finally came out.
Yeah. Ryan Bowers asks if the Bendu is a unique being, or is he one of a species?
I get the sense that he's unique. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed very unique, and we haven't seen anything like him since, so...
Just, yeah, the way he talked about himself, like, light, dark, I'm the Bendu, he says, I'm the one in the middle. Like, he gives off kind of a Force wielder vibe.
Mm-hmm. And Mortis arc type stuff.
And I don't think he's dead. I don't think he died in Star Wars Rebels. I think he just vanished and is probably somewhere else. I also don't even know if that's what he really looks like, because he fit into the Adelon landscape so well. Mm-hmm. It's like, can he just take on the shape of wherever he is kind of thing? Does he take on the properties of what whatever planet he lives on.
Yeah. I imagine if he were to disappear from that planet, which he did, and like show up on Endor, he'd be like an int.
Yeah. I could see that. I don't know, like, I could see it going either way. Star Wars Rebels just introduced a bunch of, like, weird stuff that I think is very cool, but hasn't been brought up again yet. And it's like, will we ever see it again? I don't know.
Yeah. And I had the crazy theory, like, when we weren't sure if Ahsoka was dead or not, that maybe she would come back as the new Bendu. Like, if that Bendu had been killed somehow, that maybe Ahsoka could be the next Bendu.
Yeah, because she says she's no Jedi, and yeah, I don't know. There's a bunch of mystical stuff floating around out there that it's like, I don't know if we're ever going to touch on it again, but I hope we do.
I mean, I have to imagine Dave Filoni knows, but he's gonna keep that his own little secret for as long as he can, or as long as he wants.
That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.